Can be a challenge, but what about those who use the bay as their highway?
We wondered, and we sent KPIX5's John Ramos out on the water to check it out.
Everyone I've ever met who rides a ferry really seems to enjoy it. But what about today, in weather like this? My assignment? Find out what it's like to be a ferry rider tossed about on the raging sea. Of course, Gary Nealand was there to provide the buzzkill.
The catamarans are pretty stable, so yeah, it doesn't bounce around too much. On a day like today, it's probably going to be, it's probably fine. Yeah.
As we pulled out from Larkspur, the passengers settled into their routines, unaware of the danger they were in. Except for John Bell, a Marin resident and experienced sailor who hinted that adventure would come later in the voyage.
When you get into the open areas of the bay, beyond Tiburon or beyond Angel Island, you get some direct winds, but overall it's a pretty smooth ride. It can be kind of fun sometimes.
Actually, except for a gentle rocking when trying to walk, the whole thing seemed pretty normal. Do you ever get people here who are seasick because of this?
Maybe on the baseball boat, but that might be from beverages that they consume.
During a storm, it's not any worse unless you're sitting out, outside where the water's splashing around.
That sounded good. But of course, no one was really foolish enough to sit out there anyway, and I soon found out why.
Outside from the back of the boat, it's pretty protected until you step out toward the railings.
It was like being in a hurricane. The ferries travel at about 30 knots across the bay, add high winds to that, and at last, something to satisfy the thrill seeker, even as the riders inside enjoyed a more serene experience. A rough ride? New York visitor Gidris Kleveka says, forget about it.
This thing is like butter. And if this is Bumpy, then man, I'm loving Bumpy.
Honestly, the conditions out on the bay ended up being pretty tame today, but workers say these big catamarans can operate out in the open ocean, so they can handle anything the bay can serve up. In Larkspur, John Ramos, KPIX5.
Yeah, actually, the ferry companies say only normally the smaller boats are affected by the bad weather. Those high winds can make pulling them up to the dock very difficult.
Good thing we didn't lose John there.
Well, that's why we put him on a big boat. That's it.